ladies now fuck. Yeah, making that bang. And pop it.
Are you ready? I said, are you ready? It is all no since I say the three, y'all say the two, the one crowd. In 3.
Ba 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 ba. Sing. Ba 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 ba. Said fuck the French on the stage. All this fucker has his bass. Said fuck the French on the stage.
Really nasty,
all this fucker
bass.
has his bass. Said fuck the French on the stage. All this fucker has his bass. French on the stage. All this fucker has his bass. Said fuck the easy, but what?
Oh, this is such a savage, man. Holy crap. Nice.
Said fuck the French.
Wow. For you, when you hear that, because there's a lot of sounds.
Yeah.
Sometimes with singing, when I hear it, like I see it, all the anatomy, or I try to like experience it physically. Like there's like a lot that goes in stimulus wise when I listen to a singer. When you listen to a beatboxer, like do the MRI, does like all the hours of MRI footage like kind of just like slide through your mind?
What happens is I get lost in all the bass. Because the beatboxers that we have at the MRI collected those videos in 2015, just before inward bass and other techniques like took off. Like there was a bit of a change, and so I get sort of lost thinking about, oh man, look at all those
New sounds.
Look at all
that
those
happen.
sounds that I don't even know what's going on in there. Like I know something's going on. I know all the bits and pieces, but there's so much variety and there's so many moving parts of it. And an MRI can't capture some of that stuff because the spatial resolution on the MRI, like if you really zoom in on the vocal folds, you might be able to get something interesting, but you also really want kind of like a 3D perspective to see how things are moving around. There's this Tom Thumb video I think people have probably seen where like they do a laryngoscopy and you can see like things are practically twisting in there. Like it's really three-dimensional. And so kind of get I just sort of my ears glaze over, I guess, and I start thinking about just all the bits that I still don't know about.
It's to me, this is one of the most exciting things about beatboxing is that like it's a bunch of really young folks on the, for the most part. I mean, like obviously the beatboxing is got a rich history, at least as far back as, you know, 1960s, right? But like in terms of this online culture, like it's a bunch of really young people doing the craziest shit with their voices, and everyone is stumped, and I love it. I love it. It's like, I mean,
yeah,
no one knows what the shit is happening.
except for, and this is really what gets me, all the beatboxers who seem to be able to pass it on
and quickly, like really
to be able to
fast.
imitate each other. Like it's like it as an outsider, it feels like something gets unlocked. Like you get to a certain level of beatboxing, and then you just kind of go, "Give me time, and I can make any sound I want. Have a little patience."
Yeah.
And that's I don't have that, and that is something that really, it's inspiring, really.
I agree wholeheartedly. Let's continue on to the winner here and his response to that.
Switch.
Yeah, it's easy.
Are you can kind of tell even just on compressed audio that there is a power difference here. Oh, the internal metronome is actually really clean. Like, it's really good. Ooh, smooth. Oh, okay. Ooh. The clean clucks.
Whoever's on the camera that's like the one that we're looking at through right now, that camera, it's what, from the middle of the audience to the back of the audience. They do like a shaky cam thing throughout this, like and near the beginning especially. Like it's just a little bit of wobbling, but really you were right. You can kind of hear the power. I hear that moment when he first starts. It just comes right into it, and I get chills a little bit where I don't always from an online video, and then the camera does a little shaky thing. I'm like, yeah, the room is shaking, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. I thought the same as you. I was like, oh, the video editor did a good job there, but when I listened to some people talk about what it was like to be in the room when Julard was beatboxing, they were like, no, that wasn't in post. It's like the subwoofers just did that. Which I'd like to believe. Eyewitness testimony, not the most reliable, but why not? Let's just that, because I can believe it, because you know the goal is to get that sound, right? And if you want to get that sound, you can tune a system to do that. So here's what I want to do, if this is okay. Okay, so this is the drop that Osis did on the left here, and and then this is the drop that he did in counter, that Julard did in counter. So you can see, at first I thought like I had resized the spectrogram inaccurately, but it actually just is that much beefier on the bottom there. Yeah. Like, in fact, you can kind of look at the piano size and you can see that I'm not actually making this up. Like, piano size is mostly the same. Let's get that a little bit better there. Make sure that's real. Yeah, a little bit bigger.
Further down.
Yeah, a little further down. A little bit more.
Perfect.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just about perfect. At least for what we're doing, it's perfect enough anyway.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's noticeable. That's a hell of a counter. like, oh my God.
So the bottom there is 30 hertz, maybe it's a little bit below, maybe as low as 20 hertz on the screen. I was looking at what the
this is
30 is that line that's going across there, but that's not the bottom.
The bottom is 20.
Is 20. Okay.
So it's occupying clearly it's clearly in Julard's case, it's clearly going below 20 hertz, which is sub-bass frequencies, which is freaking awesome.
Right. Like, as a reminder, the human ear typically does not hear below 20 hertz. And the human voice, I mean, lots of voices go lots of different frequencies, but it's relatively rare to hear somebody going below, I don't know, 60 hertz? I'm kind of making that number up. But like the average for men, the literature says, is close to 100 hertz or so, maybe a little bit more or less. So to have noise being made by a human vocal tract at 30 hertz, 20 hertz, that's real low.
And it's to me, like, I think it's worth, I think, and I having looked at a lot of spectrograms, I look at how it's just capped out at 20. This goes below 20. There's no way it doesn't. And I say that with complete and utter confidence without any proof. But because it's YouTube, and I'm not held to the same standards you are,
right
here.
Now, just the scientist in me points out that like there are some things here. We're not just hearing the beatboxers in isolation, we're also hearing the room. And so at different moments the crowd is going to be making sound, or an airplane could have flown over, or other things could have happened. But the beatboxers are getting like put over the mic here, and so what we're mostly hearing is beatboxer, and so it seems likely that what we are seeing is a beatboxer difference. But like if you are going to do beatbox science and you want to get a reliable look at somebody's bass, then you want to try to find a really quiet spot, no fans, no ventilation systems, something that just keeps things as quiet as possible in order to get a really reliable look at that.
Still, though, this is
no, of course,
it's pretty. Yes, absolutely. If we're gonna like submit it for public record and knowledge for the ends of time, absolutely.
I'm just I'm trying to do my duty here as I want beatboxers to do more science. So I want to make sure that when you all are doing your science, you don't totally trust the YouTube videos, even though they give you a lot of really good insight.
But like and subscribe.
Oh yeah. You can trust us.
Well, you can trust you, because you have the decency.
We all make mistakes.
Not me. But no, this is wild. I mean, yeah, it's this is why I would love for you to have lab at GBB. You know what I mean? Like that would be magic. Imagine these people getting into all of what we could get out of
that would be a lot of fun
being together. It'd be amazing. Yeah. This is insane to me.
I mean, if there's money.
Yeah, right. Let's continue.
Switch!
Give me some substance, yeah? Conceal it. If you can't have it, you should steal it. Conceal it. Gun you down while you were sleeping. Pain.
He's so clean, man.
Babe. Shoot you for
I guess that's vibration bass he's doing there.
Shoot you for
Ooh. That's a cool trick there. Is that other guy really? The way that they choose to insert those hollow sounds is really cool too. Like the kind of thing.
Smash up, bang up, put your hands up, get some clean up. All you have to do is move.
a lot going on. Yeah. It's, oof. Bass sounds from both are interesting. I find that there's a lack of consistency in some of the robustness in Osis, and that like it seems to come in and out. With Julard, there's a level of consistency. I experience this problem a lot when I do. The reason I was asking, like, I think that's vibration. It's hard to get consistency with vibration in the same way that it's hard for when I sing opera. Like, to get consistency in the vowels takes forever and a day.
Yeah.
Across the range. So, like I can spend hours. I can't, unfortunately, because vibration bass doesn't allow me to. But I could spend hours like trying to just control all the little bits and bobs to get that consistent sound. That's
manage the kickback from the resonance onto the vocal folds and everything else. And
yeah. Oh, hold on, gazoon type. Explain that to me.
Oh well, this is an Ingotitsa thing, right? There's like the vocal folds. Like if you think about the vocal tract holistically, my understanding of the science here is that like you could just think about the vocal folds. Opening and closing, vibrating. It's aerodynamic. Air's sucking them together and pushing them apart. There's musculature involved as well that contributes to these things. But then resonance happens when you get the air molecules to move like bigger distances at certain frequencies. More resonant frequency kind of amounts to higher amplitude frequency or a set of higher amplitude frequencies.
So let's break that down a little bit.
Because, let's do that.
Because so what we have is we need to describe resonant frequencies and amplitude frequencies. Resonant frequencies, as far as I understand it, in terms of acoustics, is when you have a certain space. That space will see well. First of all, okay, waves have size. Like, let's go there. Let's start there.
Maybe air particles are physical things.
Okay, that's better. Yeah, you're the actual professor, so yeah, take it away because this is
I'm trying.
This is the expression. I'm sure something you've explained more than I have. So
an air particle is a physical thing, and rarely sits still. There's all kinds of forces that cause it to wiggle around in different directions, and sometimes it moves bigger, and as it moves a lot bigger, maybe it goes smaller. It probably moves in lots of different directions, but we're going to focus on just like one direction, left or right. And the amount that it moves left or right is amplitude. Or you might say the amount that it moves away from, like if it has sort of a center location, one point that it likes to live in space, the amount that it moves to my left, the right or the left to the right, away from its center, that's a measurement called amplitude. And it can be measured in like something derived from meters or distance, and it can be measured in some other ways too. But I think
so. When we talk about, and here we go with the complicated things. When we talk about volume with like and decibels and all of that, what's the correlation with that and amplitude? Is it relevant?
I am not prepared to talk about that.
Yeah, right. Listen, when it comes to volume, folks, we're talking about human perception versus measuring a physical phenomena. And there's different, as he's saying, there's a couple of different phenomena as you can measure. So, so how do we narrow it down when we try to talk about Tits's work? You can go
So I'm going to narrow it down to the physical things that move inside your body.
Okay.
One of the physical things that moves is the air molecules that exist as little physical particles. So when they move, because they are physical and they have mass, they might smack into other things that are also physical and have mass, like your tongue or your palate or your lips or your larynx and your vocal folds. When things smack into each other, there's an energy transfer. It's playing pool is the classic example. If you use your stick to hit the cue ball, you've transferred energy from the stick into the cue ball, and then the cue ball, well, I hope you're probably hitting the cue ball first, and then the cue ball goes and hits ideally some other ball on the pool table, and then the cue ball loses a lot of energy and transfers it into the ball that it hit. Some of that energy is also expended through sound, through heat, through friction as the ball rolls along the table. The collision energy, the transfer from the cue ball to the next ball, is the bit that I'm thinking about for the moment.
Right, sure. So air particles will hit each other and transfer energy.
That's
You're
right.
saying,
And
you're saying the degree to which they move is amplitude. So either you could measure amplitude by how much this motion ends up happening, how much the collision is.
yes, I can't see you, but yes, I think that
True.
motion you were doing was probably right. Yeah.
Right. Let me bring up the camera.
So from that, we can. Oh, I see 3 of me now. That's fun. Okay.
Here, we'll do it this way so you can. Unless I just ruined it for you.
This is no. Now I can't see you, but that's. I don't mind seeing 3 of me.
There we
I'll
go.
give it that.
Okay.
Oh, there you are. Hey, what's up? Okay.
You have more ego than a tenor. Saying so. Yeah.
I was a tenor for a long time, so I earned it.
Yeah.
There you go. So you have all these air particles that are moving around, and pressure. I mentioned like an hour ago was we can think of measuring pressure by how many particles are smacking into things over some moment of time. And since these air particles are smacking into things, they're also smacking into the vocal folds. And so that means the air particles are transferring energy into the vocal folds. So the vocal folds are like the pool billiard ball that's being hit by the cue ball. Then you expect the vocal folds to maybe like move a little bit. And so this kickback effect. This is a simplistic explanation of a phenomenon in which the last time I looked at it was about 8 years ago. So I wanna say that there's more science. There's an asterisk, and there's more science here behind all the science. But this is the story that I'm telling, and I think it's a story that might make some sense. And that's what we have, but stories that make sense, hopefully. So, as the air particles smack into the vocal folds, that causes the vocal folds to move a little bit. Resonance happens when the movements of air particles and the energy being injected into them in sync are moving at the same frequency. The analogy people use a lot of the time is when you're pushing somebody on a swing. Like, say you have a little sibling, and you go out to the park together, and they sit on a swing, and you stand behind them. You give them a push, they swing out and come back. The most efficient time to give them another push to make them go higher is right at the apex as they've gotten back toward you. You give them another push, adding to the energy that gravity and the pendulum and everything are already contributing. It's the most efficient time to give that push. If you instead were to try to push them as they like came back to you and like were at the bottom of the swing, you kind of like put your hands out, you would stop them instead. Resonance happens when whatever the system is that's trying to make resonance is doing the efficient thing. Energy is being added at just the right time, at just the right frequency, in order to let the energy in the system build up and up and up.
So resonance is not just a matter of like, because in my mind, I always think about it in terms of like acoustic space. Mm-hmm. That's not just, I mean, it's one part of it, but that's not it. That's not all.
The space, well, so like the physical space will determine what resonant frequencies you get.
Okay, so, and that's what I was bringing into the equation. But what you're saying, and this is good for me to know, because I'm not terribly familiar with Tits's work in detail. I know about straws and Pavarotti. But,
well, so the straw is an important part of this, yeah.
Right.
There's something about it's important, but I'm not going to try to say how the straw is important. What I can say is that when the vocal folds are vibrating and the resonance of like the resonant space of the vocal tract is arranged in a way that the space wants to amplify the same frequencies that the vocal folds are producing, then you get like really good resonance.
So this goes back to something we were talking about before with the kick drums, which is a separate video that you should watch on the channel. But you're talking about dimensions. There's dimensions, there's ways to create this resonance. One is the physical space to get resonant frequencies to make certain, which is to say that certain frequencies stand out more. You can
That's right.
modify and manipulate your vocal tract so that lower frequencies, because you make your vocal tract larger as much as you can, so more larger frequencies can get highlighted. That would be an example of someone using resonant frequency to their advantage in making a bass sound. But
that's right.
That's not I feel like an infomercial. But wait, there's more. And so what you're saying is that the actual physicality of the technique that they're implementing, the timing, the constrictions, and all of that can have such an effect that as air kickback happens, as forces happen in response to folds, they have to do it to where, and we all have to do it if we want to make this sound as loud as possible, we have to coordinate our musculature in such a way that as kickback happens, we're getting the maximum punch up again at the right timing.
I think that's basically the idea, yeah.
And so that sounds hard.
Yeah. And I would guess, this is a guess, that most people in their day-to-day talking, in their day-to-day singing, in their day-to-day beatboxing don't do that. You do something else that works pretty well, gets your message across, gets your singing to happen, but to really get that level of finesse, the vocal folds and the vocal tract are perfectly in sync with each other, requires a lot of training and probably a bit of luck.
I mean, I can tell you, with opera, sometimes it does feel like there's luck involved. There's been notes where I've hit where everyone in the room is like, what the shit? And it's like happened like twice in my life. Probably it happened more when I was practicing on my own. I didn't notice. But like there are certain, and part of that too is the room. When you get all three of those things together, like, and the room is there for you and you can just, it's fun.
Yep. But all that working together, the room getting the resonance that's coming out of your mouth, which is affected by the vocal folds and which affects the vocal folds, all these things are like physically connected to each other. And when you get them working, it works. And when the room, which is physically connected to your body, isn't working for you, then no matter what kind of skill you have in here, you're going to be working in just a crappy room and your voice isn't going to sound as good.
And then there's the microphone.
And there's the microphone. Oh, that's a good segue.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's nice.
So the microphone has its own diaphragm. So this principle, the diaphragm not being like what you have in your lungs, it basically think about it as a sounding board. It vibrates, right? And so you pick things up. So the same principle applies, that it has a momentum and a movement and you want to hit it at the same point. So the distance that the mic is from your mouth also affects everything. So we're talking about mic technique, the vocal tract, and how you're using your vocal folds or lips.
And both of them together, trying to get those at the same frequency, and
so
all those pieces have to fit together just right to maximize your output.
Now we bring to the thing that where the study of yours that you did. We're going to talk about that in a separate video. So and we're going to get into that. So if you liked this react, please check out our video that we're going to have with Dr. Blaylock explaining the difference between a good beatboxer, mediocre beatboxer, and a bad beatboxer using some of this logic on some of the sounds.